I want to say welcome to each of you. Thank you for joining us for our Black History Month series on the shoulders of Changemakers. Today, we will be having a discussion regarding Blacks and philanthropy. And I have the pleasure of having Chari Chester Anderson here with us. She's the development officer with the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving. She's a leader in philanthropy in the greater Hartford community. And I've had the pleasure of working with Chari on the Black Giving Circle at the Hartford Foundation, which I hope that we get a chance to talk a little bit about during this call. So I'm going to just say welcome, Chari, and thank you so much for agreeing to join us in this conversation.
Well, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
We're going to just jump right in. Chari, share a little bit about your background and how you got involved with philanthropy.
Yeah, well, I started my career in marketing and in the for-profit sector. And when I moved back to Greater Hartford, I was born and raised in Windsor. And when I moved back here to Connecticut, I was looking for a career change. I still knew that I wanted to use the skills that I've learned, in marketing, and found an opportunity to work at the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, utilizing those skills in development.
Yes. Really, what do you find most interesting about working in development? You're working for, I believe, the largest community foundation in the state of Connecticut. So I know it's very complex and very intricate, doing a lot of great impact work there. What do you find most interesting about working in the field of development?
What I think is most interesting is that, there are so many different ways that people choose to play out their charitable interest. And it makes my job a lot of fun. I get to work with people and families who really care about community, and they have ideas that they want in ways in which they want to support the community in whatever way that makes most sense for them and their family. And a lot of times what we see is a lot of children doing things on behalf of their parents, what their parents would have always wanted to see. Maybe there's been an inheritance that they have and they want to give back. And so their giving really is less about them and more about what their parents would have wanted. And I think to see that is so rewarding to be a part of that legacy, helping people create legacies for their family in the philanthropy world.
Oh, wonderful. Absolutely. And, I was hoping today, too, that we could talk a little bit about Black philanthropy from, like I said, a historical perspective into present day. And in your work and, and working with the Black Giving Circle, how have you seen philanthropy in the Black community? What does it look like? What has it looked like? And we can talk about the Black Giving Circle and how that was established within that space.
Yeah, so historians have found that Black history can be traced back to Africa before slaves were brought to America, and this is really African tradition in which people gathered, their dollars to support others in community. There's also some history that shows that slaves supported the Irish. I believe there was like a potato shortage during those times, and so we have in the African American community, we have a really strong history of philanthropy. And I think what's most interesting is that if you spoke to most Blacks, people would say, well, I don't call it philanthropy, I just call it giving back or helping someone else out. And so it is, I think of that as it is so ingrained in what we do and who we are. We haven't given it this formal name. We just say we're giving back, we're helping someone else. And so I think in that, some of the transactions that have happened over time may have, gotten lost and people not giving it that term.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so I think your other question was about the Black Giving Circle Fund and how it came about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's how you and I first started working together. I knew of you from the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, but just for me personally, being involved with the beginning stages and the development of the Black Giving Circle there, for me, again, personally working in the field of development and having that opportunity to be a part of that shared experience and pooling resources was great, just for me as well, and to get to know you and work with you and the folks over at the foundation. But if you could share about the Black Giving Circle and what that looks like and how that was developed and the types of projects that it supports.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Black Giving Circle at the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving was established in 2015. But it really started, the work started in 2014 when the Hartford Foundation hosted a Black Philanthropy event to celebrate Black Philanthropy Month, which is August, which is an annual thing in August. And we brought folks together to celebrate Black philanthropy, to say, we know you are here, we appreciate you, and we all benefit from the philanthropy that each of you all participate in year after year. And so it was a really great event. We had, a guest speaker. I think we had about 200 folks there. And it was just really a day of celebration. And it had been the first time the Hartford Foundation had formally honored or acknowledged that month as we had learned about it. And so there was a lot to celebrate. And a lot of folks left the meeting saying, wow, I never thought of myself as a philanthropist, but I definitely
remember that. Mm-hmm.
And so from that event, we hosted several sessions where we met with folks in the community to say, let's continue this conversation. Let's find out, how can the foundation continue to support the work that is happening in our region? And so from there grew the idea to have a giving circle. The Black Giving Circle Fund is what residents wanted to name it.
Yes. And what types of projects has the fund supported since its inception? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So over the years, every year, and let me kind of go back a little bit. So the Giving Circle is a group of people. Anyone can join. It's $365 a year with the concept of $1 a day. They donate to the fund, and every year they come together and they decide on, what issues they would like to support. And we have an open application process. Nonprofits are invited to apply and request support for programs or projects that they have going on within their organization. And so once we receive those applications, our members review them and they vote to decide which grant they would like to support that year. Mm-hmm. So we've awarded grants since 2015, and we've supported an array of topics from education to martial arts. We've done grants that have supported supportive programming for cancer survivors, and the list goes on.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and great work. And I love the concept of, pooling resources to have a greater impact. And in doing that work at the Giving Circle, if you could just, describe just not people, individuals by name, but just the feeling and the sentiment of people who have participated in this collective effort and what you have experienced from that type of energy and camaraderie working together.
Yeah, so people who are involved with the Giving Circle, they range from ages. We even have a group of teens who are part of the Giving Circle now. And so we have teenagers all the way to, our seniors who are 70 or 80 years old who have supported the Giving Circle from its inception. And we have attorneys, we have doctors, we have, hard workers who are putting in time, hourly workers every day. We have business owners. We really have a diverse group of folks who are so charitable and year after year, giving of their hard-earned dollars to support what they believe is really critical work in the Black community. Mm-hmm. And what I like about what we do with the Black Giving Circle is that in so many narratives, the Black community is thought of the beneficiaries. And this is an opportunity for us to show that we're benefactors, that we too, even with 365, we can have great impact.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Could you share something that you're proud of that you've experienced in working in the field of philanthropy? I just know from, my experience too, there tends not to be a lot of Black individuals working in the field of philanthropy as development officers, and in that space. So if you could just share some things that you're proud of, having opportunity to work in the field of development.
Yeah, well, I think what I am most proud of is the learning that I've had just being in the field and really learning how to be savvy with earnings over time, and really being able to help others learn about creative ways to give back, and really creating a legacy. I think so many times, some people in the community don't know ways that they can leave a legacy, and we think that you have to be, Oprah or a multimillionaire to give back and leave a legacy, but that's not the case anymore. There are many opportunities that we can also leave that legacy that will give in perpetuity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's awesome. And how have you seen the role of Black philanthropy play out in the area of social justice and impact in the community?
Yeah, well, we've all seen it in so many ways. When we think about the Civil Rights Movement of the 60s, it was mostly funded by, in many ways, it started with the church, right? Mm-hmm. The Black church was really the epicenter of the movement. And who funds the Black church? Its parishioners. And so, that's philanthropy at its finest in our community, is that we've always seen it there, and it continues to work in similar ways. I think now things are a little more formal in terms of, people giving to specific organizations. But if we think about, an organization that everybody knows about, Black Lives Matter, that whole movement was started by young Black women who came together, and through the nonprofit, through giving, they were able to build what has been like a global movement. People know about it, and we see it locally as well. When we see these local marches, we see people coming together. These are funded by small grassroots organizations that are usually led by people of Black women and men, and they fund it on these shoestring budgets. And I think what has been so phenomenal is that now we see it more, that you don't have to give $1,000 to support a charity. Now, we understand that $25 goes a long way, and we see our young people supporting the work in this way. We see our older, our seniors supporting it in this way, and we realize a little bit, it keeps adding up, and it will turn into, a larger financial contribution.
I'm glad you hit on that, because I was going to ask you a question about where do you see the role of Blacks in philanthropy going? And, we had that historical perspective. We saw definitely the forward momentum with higher or establishing giving circles. Where do you see it going in the future, particularly here in the greater Hartford area?
Yeah, I wish I had that crystal ball and I could tell you exactly where where it will go. But in terms of like the momentum and what I see, I think people will continue to give. I think we understand the power of giving, and we've seen it. I always think about President Obama's his first campaign, where we saw that a little bit of a small request could really turn into a national movement. And I think people have bought into that. And so I just think giving on big scales and small scales will just continue, and that the Black community really sees it and gets it. And we know we've seen it throughout our lives. You save a little bit, it keeps adding and adding up, and eventually you can have even greater impact. So, I hope that in terms of giving circles that we have more of them. But, we've been seeing giving, and I think in our region, especially, we've seen the power of giving even through our local fraternities and sororities. Every year, they get bigger and they have greater impact in our region. And, there are things that, we think about scholarship funds and things of that sort, and all these things, our young people are watching, and they see the impact of these things. And I think they'll continue to grow and take even greater roots here.
Awesome. Well, is there anything that you would like to share, Chari, just additionally in closing as we, wrap up this conversation? It was very insightful. I could talk about philanthropy and giving, all day. It's something I enjoy. One of the things I always say that, very early on in my career, I had a CEO that said, no money, no mission. And, it takes resources in order to get things done and to move the good work in social services and social justice and, just in what we do from a philanthropic perspective to make an impact on people's lives. So it's important. The faces and the voices certainly need to be heard and represented as we do these things. So is there something you would like to share additionally regarding Blacks in philanthropy?
Yeah, I think what I would like to share is that, I think it's amazing where philanthropy is going. And we are starting to see more people of color, more Black men and women in positions of power within the field. And I think the more opportunities we get to sit in those positions, we have to make sure that we're always reaching back and we're always mentoring and bringing others along and sharing what we know, so that we can make sure that we always have a seat at the table. And I think the more images of Black people that the community sees, the more comfortable they will be when we show up in a room to be their development officer, to help them with their charitable giving. And so I'm just happy to be, in this space at this time while the growth is happening and while, we have so much opportunity and there's so much social movement, that I think it really makes it easy to share issues and causes that are critical to the Black community with those who are interested in helping out.
Awesome. That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Chari, for joining and taking the time to chat with the CREC community on the shoulders of Changemakers. We have, as you just said, a very rich history, a lot of Changemakers and individuals who have impacted this community with their resources, their people resources, their financial resources that have made a difference. So I thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, and it's truly an honor.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.